Yo, what's happening? What's happening, y'all? It's me. I've been gone for a long while and coming back at you again with another live stream vid. I'm really gonna have to put some little bit more effort into doing some video uploads. Like I said, guys, I'm gonna be doing these live streams sporadically because again, I have a life that's more important outside of the YouTube sphere. Even though I'll jump on some channels from time to time to discuss boxing and the latest, news and the happenings and updates around the world of boxing and so forth. I'll chime in and give my input, my insight on other channels such as Beep. Shout out to Beep, Maestro. I know he had said some. I know he had said some strong opinions about about the Wilder Usyk situation. He is a strong Tyson Fury supporter, but he's all good though. Hamed, EJ, Boxing Live, and others. So yeah, like I said, this live stream I don't expect many people to come in because, like I said, I don't put too much focus on this as much as I did in our early days. Just goes to show that I've been doing this for such a long stretches of time, and it gets to a point that we have to make a transition to where other things outside of this YouTube boxing community matters. So, yeah. So anyhow, let's get to it. I just want to get my thoughts and insight on the happening and the latest news and updates. So first things first, I want to start off with the Francis Ngannou Tyson Fury first presser circus, and that's exactly what it was. It was a circus, and as you can see in the description box of the list of titles that I'm going to go over, I may not go over those line by line, but I'm definitely going to cover every single topic. Now, I might sprinkle in a topic that I did not list in the description box, so I just want you to you as the audience to be aware of that. So, yeah, so leading up to the circus of a heavyweight bout between Tyson Fury and Francis Ngannou. Now, there's some been ramblings and talk about this being an exhibition bout. Tyson Fury can do whatever he wants. He's doing what Floyd Mayweather did. He's doing what Muhammad Ali did. All these fucking, Fury stupid ass fanboys is eating it up, taking gospel to what Team Fury and his father, including his father, his brother Shane, who looks like he's going to have a health scare pretty soon. I'm not trying to be funny because the man is severely overweight. It looks definitely poor in health. Just my observation. So, yeah, at some point, sometime, man, he needs to really take himself seriously because he may have a stroke or a heart attack, or whatever the case may be, if he doesn't get his health under control. And the same thing with Tyson Fury, too, and I'll get into that shortly. So he is a walking health hazard. No disrespect to Shane Fury, but it is. He is a walking health hazard. But anyhow, the point is that they're trying to sell this event as if this is something done within the norm, where other great fighters have done it, such as Muhammad Ali and Floyd Mayweather. Well, that is further or an embellishment from the truth, because when Floyd Mayweather and Muhammad Ali, and I have to be repetitive about this whole situation, when they took on exhibition bouts against the likes of Lou Alzado, Antonio Nuque, and so forth, and Conor McGregor, they were retired. They've done everything they could do in the state of boxing. They've had Hall of Fame fights. They've beaten Hall of Fame fighters. They were, multi-times world champions. They did everything. So just about. So you cannot compare what Tyson Fury is doing to what they've done, because Tyson Fury's career is a joke compared to what they've done. Nowhere near the fraction of what they've done. In fact, Tyson Fury is the modern day Riddick Bowe. In fact, I should do a video on that, because I'm going to do a side-by-side piece, and you may take it as a hit job, but it's going to go break down both Riddick Bowe and Tyson Fury's career, how they both have parallels. So, yeah. So this whole thing about, Tyson Fury is doing what they've done, no. That's far from the truth of what they've done. He hasn't even come close to cleaning out his division. He hasn't come close to becoming the top man, the guy to beat in the heavyweight division. Yeah, he's got this disputed lineal status, whatnot, even though he gave up the ring belt, which in that situation when Joshua and Usyk fought for that vacant ring belt, TBRB, which is one of the recognized ranking systems, recognized Oleksandr Usyk as the lineal heavyweight champion. While on the other hand, you have lineal boxing championship page called LBC, which is formerly known as the Cyber Boxing Zone. They still recognize Tyson Fury. So there's a dispute there. How do you settle that dispute? All you have to do is get these two to fight each other. We got it. You get Usyk and get Fury in the ring, and then this whole lineal dispute would be settled. But the problem with that is that you have the Gypsy Queen, as they call him, or the Gypsy Coward, who's refusing to fight him. And he openly admitted that he won't fight Oleksandr Usyk in an interview with Sky Sports and Fight Hub. He said it himself that he doesn't want nothing to do with Oleksandr Usyk. So all you Fury fanboys is going out there talking about Fury's being the boss here. He's just, Usyk's going to have to accept what he's going to give him. I'm like, well, Fury's openly admitted that he doesn't want nothing to do with that fight. He never had nothing to do with it, and he lied and used Oleksandr Usyk's name to sell the fucking event that he had previously with the Jerick Chisora fight, a fight that no one wanted to see. Oh, yeah, I know. He did. They did take the fight to Wembley. They had over 60,000 fans there, yada, yada, yada. They did almost 500,000 pay-per-view buys. But the point is that they didn't sell out the event. It didn't even come close to selling out. And they didn't really do as well as they would hope for because the event was a fucking joke. It was a shameless fight. And the reason why the numbers got to where they got to is because they used Oleksandr Usyk's name to sell the event. They needed something to draw fans' interest. They had, they had pretty much dragged everyone along and said that the Usyk and Fury fight was going to happen right after the Jerick Chisora third fight. So that's why some people gave it a pass. Now they're in a shitstorm, excuse my language, of a PR control where they just lost control of the situation because Fury got found out to be a fraud and a fucking coward. Yeah, and that's why Team Usyk is now public enemy number one with the Fury fanatics, or Oleksandr Usyk for the most part, because he cleverly exposed him for what he really is. And now you notice in that presser, in that Ngannou presser, that only select media members were allowed to attend the event. It was not open for the public. You wonder why? Or actually, I wonder why it wasn't open to the public. Because Fury knew, and he was afraid that he was going to get heckled by the crowd about the Usyk fight, the way he bottled it, as you want to call it, the way he avoided it. So at this point, yeah, that presser was a joke. Because the reason why I'd say it's a joke is because they started the presser at 9 a.m. Pacific time, so 7 p.m. in the UK time zone. 1 hour into it, they were just doing some red carpet presentation, which was, I don't know, that was not necessary. The only thing that was exciting about that presser was there was a semi-brawl that broke out between Fabio Whatley and a team. Fabio Whatley's team. I can't pronounce his last name. Fabio Whatley's team versus David Adelai's team. A brawl broke out in the red carpet, and Fabio Whatley has suffered a cut above his eye because he got punched out by one of David Adelai's crew members. Not once, but twice. He got elbowed once. Whatley tried to come back at Adelaide, and then his one of his entourage, one of his crew members, gave Whatley a left hook, and I think Whatley tried to block it, but then next, it came in too late, and then it decked him onto the floor, and that looked really pretty bad from Whatley. Yes, he was upset about it, but that's embarrassing. It's a situation to put yourself into as a fighter. So that was the most exciting thing about that presser, to be honest with you. And the word is that fight between Fabio Whatley and David Adelaide, which is going to be set for the British title, will be on the undercard of Fury versus Ngannou. So, if anything, that particular fight might be part of the reason why people would even clamor about purchasing that pay-per-view. The main event is garbage, and I love Francis Ngannou, but he has no chance against Tyson Fury. No chance. In fact, I heard a recent video from Adelaide Adelupo. Shout out to Addy, by the way. He said that he has a very, very good source. And don't quote me on this. This is what he said. Take a look at his recent video. He said that he has a very reliable source that told him that Ngannou and Joe Joyce had sparred a while back. And during that sparring, Francis Ngannou couldn't even lay a glove on Joe Joyce. I'll say this again. According to Adi Adelupo, he has a source that told him that Joe Joyce and Francis Ngannou had a sparring session together a while back, and Ngannou looked horrible. He couldn't even lay a glove on Joe Joyce. Am I shocked about this at all? Maybe. But then again, maybe I'm not too shocked. If I am a bit shocked about this, is the fact that Joe Joyce is a human punching bag. He's very easy to find. He's an easy target. So how could Francis Ngannou not be able to land a glove on this guy, even in sparring? How's that even possible? How could anyone miss that particular target? So if this is true, then I'm sure Team Fury was not going to be happy with the fact that Addy had put that out on his video, because if this actually spreads that this is actually true, that Francis Ngannou couldn't even hit Joe Joyce in sparring a while back, how do you expect us to sell as Tyson Fury's camp? How do you expect fans to even buy into this crap if this guy couldn't even hit a punching bag? How can you sell that? And yes, I know Mike Tyson is a trainer for Francis Ngannou. I'm not really falling for that. The reason why Tyson even signed up for this is because they're bringing his name to bring value to the event. This is what this is all about. They know this is a farce. They know this is a sham. And I can tell right now from the looks of it that their initial pre-buys for the pay-per-view, the pre-buy rates are not good. So they're doing what they can to sell this event. And going back to the event, it was so dry. It was so bizarre. Only select media members could attend. No fans were allowed. And yet, here's Tyson Fury walking around, grossly out of shape, fighting shape that is, trying to walk around the podium, trying to pump up the crowd. And nobody's really wasn't interested. It's like, it was boring. It was dry. And it seems like he's coked up again. And going back to this about Tyson Fury and his coke habits, I mean, somebody really needs to watch what he's doing with that, because at some point in some time, he is going to overdose and he's going to pass out in front of the public if he keeps continue to have his coke tirades. So that's all I got to say from the looks of it. But anyhow, I just think, the audio quality was bad. We didn't really get into the introduction of the fighters, 2 hours into the launch start time of the presser. So this was a very dry, bizarre, and poorly produced presser I've ever seen. And for Frank Warren to get up there and talk about Tyson Fury star values, this, that, and the third, because he has a #1 rated show on Netflix. I mean, who gives a fuck about Netflix? It's the only #1 rated show in the UK standards. Around the world, as far as the analytics is concerned, no one cares about that show. Maybe because Tyson Fury's name is not as overvalued as Anthony Joshua's was at one point. So yeah, shout out to Percy, man. No time no here, man. Yeah, I'm definitely gonna chime in on the Earl Spence Terrence Crawford situation. Yeah, I haven't had a chance to address the excuses by the Spence fanboys, but I will take the opportunity to address that issue, because as you and I predicted 5 years ago, we kind of predicted almost exactly how this fight's going to play out. The only thing I missed, and maybe you have missed, Percy, is that we didn't expect that fight to be one-sided. A complete domination and instruction by Terrence Crawford over Earl Spence. That's probably one thing we did not get to see. We did not expect, I should say. So, yeah. The presser was garbage. It was poorly produced. They were trying to amplify some of the noise to make it seem like the crowd was into it, even though they were not. I mean, it was just terrible. For Tyson Fury to go up there and take off his shirt and try to go Francis Ngannou to take off his shirt, I don't know, man. Maybe he has something about him that we kind of suspect. I'm not gonna go there. I'm not gonna go there. But the one thing that I would say though, that was another thing that was a bit intriguing about that presser, other than the brawl that took place in the red carpet between Adelaide and Wardley, was that Francis Ngannou said to Tyson Fury that as far as you being an all-around fighter is concerned, you're very basic. And what Francis Ngannou mean by that is that, yeah, in terms of boxing, you're very good, but when it comes to shoot fighting, you're terrible. You can't wrestle. You don't know any submission locks. You don't know how to grapple your opponent very well. That's it. And Tyson Fury did not like that comment at all. I genuinely believe that little comment rattled him, because the thing about Fury is that he enjoys sycophantic behavior. And when he does not, if he can't get control of a certain situation, when someone challenges him to a point that he knows that he's getting beat at, he just goes off the rails and he just starts saying some absurd things just to, get back in control of the situation. But in that instance, Francis told him calmly, he's like, you're a basic all-around fighter. You're not good at shoot fighting. And he didn't like that comment. And all of a sudden, out of nowhere, he said, I will beat your ass in the cage to Francis Ngannou. I mean, Tyson Fury, give it a rest, bro. When you were challenged on that by John Jones, what did you do? You put out a video like a coward and told John Jones that, you know what, John, I'm not a cage fighter. I'm a boxer. That's it. Cowardly move, because you didn't expect John Jones to respond to that call out, and you ran away like a little bitch and tucked your tail between your legs and left. So now all of a sudden he wants to talk about I'll fight John Jones and Francis Ngannou in the cage after their first fight. And Ngannou perfectly responded to that and said, you know what, you need to focus on one thing. Focus on the boxing, then we'll talk about that later. So, in case anybody doesn't know and they haven't caught up, they do have a one-way rematch clause. I mean, not one-way. They have a two-way rematch clause. So this is equally more embarrassing. And I've covered this maybe, I think, in one of my previous streams. Why is it that the heavyweight champion of the world, the active heavyweight champion of the world, Tyson Fury, why does he have to have a two-way rematch clause against a guy who's never boxed a day of his life? A novice. Why? And yet he didn't want a rematch clause against Oleksandr Usyk, even though it was his team that put that rematch clause in the contract in the first place. So how does that work? I mean, this guy is really off the rails. And he went after Carl Froch and Tony Bellew for their comments about how of a sham of a circus of the fight that he's putting up right now. He wants to brag about, well, I'm getting more money than they ever got in their prize fighting career, yada, yada, yada. Well, let me tell Tyson Fury one thing. Money doesn't always buy you respect. There's always a saying about that statement, and it is true. And the reason why I say that is because, yes, Carl Froch never got that type of money that Tyson Fury is allegedly making right now against Francis Ngannou, or better yet, made against Deontay Wilder in those 3 fights. Okay, but the fact is that Carl Froch went down as one of the greatest super middleweight fighters of all time, not just in Britain, but all around. World class, one of the all-time great fighters in the super middleweight division's history. He went down as a Hall of Famer. Carl Froch went and beat everybody that was put in front of him, all top dangerous contenders, all of them except for Andre Ward. He did that, okay? Tyson Fury hasn't even come close to what Carl Froch has done. Not even close. Yeah. He beat, Tyson Fury beat Klitschko, but that's it. Carl Froch has names and resumes that stretches longer than Tyson Fury's arm. So for him to go out there and try to, ridicule Carl Froch for the fact that he didn't make the money that Tyson Fury is making right now, that just goes to show that the man is insecure. He can't handle constructive criticism. It's always been that way with him. And so what does he do? He runs away like a coward, hides behind his paymasters and Aram and Warren, and then perfect example of that was exhibited when this presser was only limited to certain select media members, and that was it. No public audience could get in. Why? Because he's afraid that he's going to get heckled and ridiculed for the fact that he's avoided the Usyk fight, which, by the way, he admitted on an interview with Sky Sports. He admitted that. So all you Fury fanboys is talking about, oh, he's just making Usyk wait. He's not avoiding him. No. He admitted that he avoided that fight. And his team, indirectly, Sugar Hill, even admitted they never had any preparation, preparation scheduled to make that fight at all. And yet you guys still want to be oblivious about that fact. He's admitted it. Every time this man's going out and trying to shame Oleksandr Usyk, it's just making you guys look more dumber and dumber than I've ever seen. Seriously. And by the way, he did an interview, Tyson Fury, with First Take with Stephen A. Smith. And for the nerve of Stephen A. Smith to not bring up the fact that why don't you fight Oleksandr Usyk? But yet, Tyson Fury, the fact that he brought up to Tyson Fury, would you want to fight Anthony Joshua and Deontay Wilder? But he didn't want to bring up Oleksandr Usyk. And we know why, because Fury does not really want to answer any questions about him. That's it. And he continues, whenever he does bring up, it's very short, it's very sweet. And he lies and says that Usyk was the one that avoided the fight. No, he did not. Usyk walked out of the negotiations because you clown, you coke-tipped clown, you the one who kept moving the goalposts. Every time that Oleksandr Usyk accepted those amended proposals, you kept moving the goalposts. You didn't want nothing to do with it. The more you did it, the more your reputation got damaged. And the more that we find out that after the Usyk walked out of negotiations, if we find out later that you had no intentions of making that fight, you were working on that Ngannou fight for a whole year. A whole year. In fact, your own trainer even outed you for that. So you are the clown and you are the fraud and the coward. And this is the reason why and look, I know some people are going to say, well, you wouldn't say that to his face. Like, yeah, I would. I don't give a damn what he does. If he could beat me up, so what? But the fact is, it doesn't disguise the truth about him. That won't go away. And now people found out the fact that he is a fraud. He is a fucking coward. He won't fight the guy unless he knows he's in a perfect position to beat him. That's the only time he'll ever take the fight. That's exactly what he's doing to Anthony Joshua. Of course he wants to fight Joshua now because the fact that Joshua is a shell of himself. The man is mentally compromised. He's lost, 3 of his last 6 fights? Got beat and schooled by Usyk twice, and got dominated by Andy Ruiz. Joshua himself has been throwing, post-fight tirades after his fights. So it's like the man's a lost cause to some extent, and I like Anthony Joshua. But if you see a guy that's going through mental challenges like that as a fighter, of course Tyson Fury want to pick on him and fight him. Of course he wants to do it. But yeah, this little coward think I'm talking about Tyson Fury. This coward think he could get away with it for so long. It has finally caught up with his ass. And I pray to God that Francis Ngannou knock this guy out, even though it won't happen. But I will say this. If Francis Ngannou hurt Tyson Fury, if that fight becomes even one close of inclination of being competitive, that will look equally bad on Fury's part. Why? Because everyone expected him to wipe out this novice. But if this fight comes out to be difficult than it seems, then no excuses. I don't want to hear this crap about, he carried him. No, there's a difference about carrying a fighter versus a fighter that's being competitive. If Ngannou hurts this guy or knocks him down, that looks horribly bad on Tyson Fury. Horribly bad. Well, he did kind of get schooled. What's up, this bitch? Well, Richard. Yeah, he did get schooled. Joshua did get schooled by Usyk. He did. Okay, because that fight, yes, there were competitive rounds early on, but after the championship rounds, Usyk dominated those championship rounds. There was no dispute about that. Even Joshua can tell you that. He even admitted it. So, yeah. Salute, this bitch. Salute to you. Interesting name. Wilder beats AJ. Well, you know what? This AJ, yeah. This guy, this former AJ, yeah. The AJ, when he was undefeated, 50-50 fight. I would have probably edged Wilder, but at this point, yeah, man. And I'm going to get to that in a second. At this point, this version of Anthony Joshua, I just don't see how he beats Deontay Wilder. Nah. Even though Wilder is extremely technical, flawed fighter, yes, he has his limitations, but what makes Wilder stand out the most is that he has great will. He has courage. He will fight to the end. I mean, he'll fight to the end to the point that you have to kill this guy to beat him and knock him out. That's his will. And you sometimes when you face a fighter like that, especially who's very destructive like Deontay Wilder, you got to match his will. That's the only way to beat him. It's matches will. So yeah. So yeah. So yeah, I mean, look, yeah, Fury would dog walk Francis and he's missed. But yeah, he will dog walk him. And I like Francis Ngannou. He has an incredible background, you know, very hard upbringing coming from Cameroon. But dude, this is all just a payday. It's all for a charade. That's all it is. And speaking of a payday, it's been reported that Tyson Fury is getting $40 to $50 million for this fight. If that's the case, then why is he getting less of a payday to fight Ngannou than to fight Usyk? He was offered more money to take that fight, but yet he turned it down. Why? So I want the Fury fanboys to explain that logic to me. Why get paid less to fight a guy that's a novice versus a guy who's a seasoned pro and you're going to get paid $25 million more if you fought him? So yeah, this dude and his team is just are being exposed like it's just like it's no tomorrow. Seriously. So shout out to Fight Doctor in the chat. Yeah. But yeah, May Almighty Natasha, the bitch of truth, help. Yeah, man, we're gonna have to pray on that one. But it realistically it may not happen. But if Francis Ngannou if he makes that fight competitive, if he hurts Fury, if he knocks him down, that's a victory itself for Francis Ngannou. If he can do that, because Tyson Fury, even if he wins that fight, which he will, if he faces a situation like that, it's going to be very, very difficult for his team to kind of come up with some form of damage control to get out of that mess, because that's embarrassing. You let a novice, a guy who's never boxed a day of his life, to come in there and hurt you and put you on your back foot. It got you worried about his power. How can you let that happen? As a guy who's been boxing since he was a kid in Tyson Fury, how could you let that happen? And I know the backlash that Fury's going to get is going to be it's going to be just as bad if he loses this fight. It's going to be just as bad. And I'm just telling you this right now. If he gets hurt in that fight, if it goes down to, he may go the distance, but if he gets hurt and he gets knocked down, then that's going to look very bad as just as if he gets knocked out. It's going to look bad. So I'm just letting you, the Fury fanboys, know about that. It's going to be hard work for you guys to come up with the damage control and the talking points to defend that situation if it happens. Richard says that, why isn't the WBC being questioned for not stripping Fury? Yeah, hey, legitimate question. I'm going to get into that right now. I find it very odd, and I find it hypocritical for the WBC to even sanction this fight. And the reason why I say this is because recently the news that came out that Amanda Serrano and Vasilya Ramos, they're fighting not only for the title, but they're also fighting in a 3-minute, 12-round system. And the WBC is refusing to sanction that fight because of the fact that they don't believe that fight should go 12 rounds, let alone 3 minutes. I find that very hypocritical on their part, because Amanda Serrano and Ramos are seasoned fighters. They're big, they're grown-ups, they're women, they can handle it. But yet, here they are, citing the fact that, yeah, okay, I guess part of the reason why they won't do it is because they feel that the potential dangers of sanctioning about a women's championship bout that could go, that would bear more of a risk of either one of these women to get hurt, whatnot. I get it. But at the end of the day, it could be equally bad, because Francis Ngannou has never fought in a day of his life. When I mean day of his life, he never boxed a day of his life. He's a novice going in up there against a guy who's been a champion for a few years now, who's had wealth of experience in boxing all around. And yet you want to sanction that fight? Now, what if Francis Ngannou gets seriously hurt? Now that's going to look bad under the WBC, because if that happens, they're going to have to, Mauricio Sullivan is going to have to explain, why did you sanction that bout for a guy who's been a champion for a long time for your organization, and yet against another guy who's never boxed a day of his life? Why did you sanction that? Because that was equally as dangerous as opposed to, that would be far more dangerous as opposed to you not sanctioning the Serrano and the Ramos fight for 12 rounds, 3 minutes. So Mauricio Sullivan on the WBC is, if it comes down to that, they're going to have to really, really explain that. I don't know how they're going to get out of that situation, but they'll try to find a way. So, yeah. Percy said Joshua doesn't fight smart. He doesn't fight like the big man. He also has the wrong trainer. Yeah, you know what? Look, I like Derrick James. There's only so much he can do, but as a tall and opposing guy like Anthony Joshua, you got to use those attributes. You can't be afraid to not use that. And I think Joshua's biggest fear is that he doesn't like to get hit. I mean, who doesn't want to get hit? But the thing is, too, once you get hit, some people just freeze. They become capitulated. They become timid. They don't know what to do. They're afraid of what's coming back if they engage. But sometimes as a fighter, you just gotta block that out of your mind and just go for it. And just trust your durability. And unfortunately, Joshua doesn't trust it because he's worried more about how he comes out of the ring versus what the result is going to be like in the ring, if that makes any sense. To me, Joshua comes off a guy who says, you know what? I made so much money. I still preserve I still have my health faculties. Why do I have to please the crowd just to put my health in danger? Why do I have to put my health in danger just to please the crowd? I get what he's coming from in that sense, but at the same time, boxing is a bloodthirsty sport. It's built on the fact it gravitates towards an audience that's looking for blood, that's looking for sanctioned violence. That's what they pay their monies for. That's what they pay their paychecks for. Anthony Joshua, you signed up for this. You knew the risks. So, as Thomas Hauser had pointed, and I know he got ridiculed for putting out his article and putting an opinion about this, if you feel that way, then just retire. You could just bow out gracefully. And yes, I know Joshua can't do it because he's under contract with DAZN. But, to me, it doesn't seem like they're making a profit off that contract right now. So they got to find a way to build up his confidence quick so that way they can put it back in there with the elite contenders. So, yeah. And I'm going to get into that right now. Facts. I'm going to go down to comments. He says, Miss Bitch says facts. They should take the Fury's belt and the money. Yeah, they should take that. If he rematches Francis Ngannou, then they need to strip him. They got to strip him. I mean, seriously, you gave him an exemption to take this bout, but if he decides that he wants to go into another rematch, goes into a rematch with Ngannou and then fight John Jones, then you got to strip him. You have to, because he's making a mockery not only in the sport of boxing, but he's further dragging your sanctioned body in the WBC in the mud. You cannot let this charade continue forever. You can't. The WBC. You can't. Yeah, I mean, look, at the end of the day, it's still, it's still in the matter of most of the people's opinions that whoever lands first between Wilder and Joshua or Joshua Wilder. But at this point of his career, like I say, Anthony Joshua, his confidence has been his main issue. His psychological strength or lack of is the main issue. And Hearn and his team really got to find a way to fix that. And I mean, quickly fix it. Look, I wouldn't say the UK bums always lose to US fighters. I mean, historically, the US fighters has the upper hand on the UK fighters, but not all UK fighters are bums. I mean, look at Carl Froch. I just mentioned him moments ago. Carl Froch beat plenty of US fighters. He beat plenty of them. And he's not only one of the greatest British fighters of all time, but he is one of the greatest super middleweight fighters of all time. Who, by the way, the same Carl Froch who was recently inducted to the International Boxing Hall of Fame. Something that Tyson Fury won't even get in at the moment. So for Tyson Fury to ridicule Carl Froch, he's barking up the wrong tree. And I'm not the biggest Carl Froch fan, but I will defend Carl Froch's record because he actually fought everyone. He fought everyone with the exception of Adonis Stevenson. That's it. That's the only guy he didn't fight. But other than that, he fought everyone and he challenged himself. And Carl Froch was a very limited fighter. But what kept him going, what made him a very great fighter and being very respected, even though he's arrogant, but what made him very respected by his peers and most of the boxing community is the fact that he took on all the stuff, the stiff challenges. He went to champions' backyards and beat them. He did that. Okay? This is a man who fought Andre Ward in the final of the Super 6 series, one of the greatest boxing tournaments we've ever seen assembled. This is a man who did that, Carl Froch. Even though he lost that fight, but he took on the guy who was arguably the number one fighter in the world pound for pound, Andre Ward. Arguably, I'm not saying he was, but arguably he was, Andre Ward. So this is what Carl Froch did. This is what's on his record. Tyson Fury's record is nowhere near close to what Carl Froch has done. Nowhere close. And for him to sit there and try to criticize Froch, now Tony Bellew, maybe he has a bit of argument there. But Carl Froch, no. Nah, you can't use this, oh, I'm getting paid more than what you guys made in your entire careers as a fighter. Nah, fuck that. That's a cop-out. That's just a guy who's insecure because he can't handle the fact that his record is terrible as a fighter. He's a modern-day Riddick Bowe. And like I said, I'm going to do a video on that to do a side-by-side comparison between Riddick Bowe and Tyson Fury's careers. And the fact that he can't handle the fact that he doesn't always get sycophant treatment from his peers. He can't handle it. He's a little brat. And he whines and he cries and goes to his paymaster and try to shield out others from criticizing him. That's what he does. And that's a mentality of a fucking coward. That's what it is. A psychological coward, that is. All right, let's stop making fun of AJ's name. I mean, come on, man. Come on, this bitch. Come on. Yeah, I'm bored with it. Yeah, I mean, yeah, look. These crossover fights are pointless. The only guy that I could think of that was successful from in the MMA world was Anderson Silva. He had a crossover fight. His first crossover fight was against Julio Cesar Chavez Jr. And he won that fight. So, I mean, that's Chavez Jr. But at the same time, people expected Chavez Jr. to win it because he was a boxer. But Silva actually outclassed Chavez. He dominated him in that fight. So, yeah. But other than that, all the other results is the same. Yeah, I mean, fight doctor, let's say, if he doesn't knock out Francis Ngannou, if that fight becomes even competitive, remotely competitive, then Tyson Fury needs to get it the fuck out and just give up the belt. Straight up. If he, God forbid, he loses to Francis Ngannou, that is something he will never come back from. That's embarrassing. And he even said himself, if he doesn't win that fight, then he doesn't deserve to show his face amongst the British public and the media. Yeah, okay. Yeah, you say that now because you know you can beat this guy. But if he does beat you, if you don't take him seriously, then your ass is going to be laughed out of the UK. And you can't come back to the United States because we all remember your ass is banned because of your association with Daniel Kinahan. Which, by the way, I know that case has died down, but at some point, sometime, that case is going to resurface, and Tyson Fury may be implicated. So we'll have to wait and see. He got the Derek Traves avatar. Let me see. Let's see what else we got here. Yeah, Bomac. Yeah, look. All right, Derek James. Hey, come on, man. Hey, y'all need to relax, man. Yeah, you know what? Look. I get Riddick Bowe has a better resume than Tyson Fury. I know that. But if you do the side-by-side comparison, you take Riddick Bowe's time versus Tyson Fury's time. In Riddick Bowe's time, Riddick Bowe avoided a lot of top heavyweight contenders and champions. He did that. He avoided a lot of them. All right. And the only good guy that he has on his, well, I mean, he had some other good guys before he fought Holyfield. But, you know, other than that, yes, that stands out over Tyson Fury. But what the comparison I'm making is that, like Tyson Fury, Riddick Bowe avoided a lot of top heavyweights. He used every excuse to the book not to fight them. He only fought them when he felt that he had a good chance of beating them. But when he ran into the wrong guy, yes, he won those fights by disqualification. You guys know what I'm talking about. He ran into the wrong guy that he didn't take seriously. That was Andrew Golota, a very skillful heavyweight. But the problem with Andrew Golota is that he was psychologically wasn't there. So that right there would ended Riddick Bowe's career. All his years of cherry picking, all his years of ridiculing other fighters, even though he avoided them, it all caught up with him. And I see the same pattern with Tyson Fury. In fact, Riddick Bowe, all those years, was running on that WBO title. Even at the time it was not recognized. But so Tyson Fury has the same mentality, attitude like Riddick Bowe. He only takes fights that he knows he can win. But when he runs into that wrong person that he felt that he's going to cherry pick, then it's all going to go downhill. At some point, at some time, that may happen to Tyson Fury. It could happen in the Ngannou fight. There's a 1% chance it could. But hey, in the heavyweight division, that 1% can be very great. So we'll see. Yeah, I mean, he's a good fighter, but he's not the best heavyweight this era. He's not. He's not even close. He's not even close. So all these Fury fanboys talking about he's the best heavyweight this era. No, he's not, man. Tyson Fury is not even there. Anthony Joshua, yes, he's lost fights, but he has a way better resume than Tyson Fury. That's just the way it is. It's just the way it is, guys. So yeah. All right, let's move it on to the Joshua Wilder situation. I'm going to chime on this one because I know we're going to spend some time talking about this. So the fight is off. In case you guys didn't know, Eddie Hearn did pretty much confirm the case. Now, the question is, did Eddie Hearn lie about this whole thing months leading into the Helenius fight, that the Wilder and Josh fight was never going to happen? Here's my take on it. I think that Eddie Hearn had no intention, or Anthony Joshua himself, maybe Anthony Joshua, but Eddie Hearn had no intention of making that fight. And the reason why I say that is because you look at his performances against Jermaine Franklin, you look at his recent performance against Robert Helenius, and the fact that Joshua is he has a lot of mental strength challenges right now, a lack of mental strength. It would be seriously almost career suicide at this point to put him in there against Deontay Wilder at the moment. So why risk it right now when you still have that lucrative contract that you got to pay back to the zone? They need to make money off of that. And they need Joshua to not only be active, but they need his career to prolong. So based off that result, I cannot see any confidence at all. I said it too in one of the live streams. I forgot who I went on to. I think it was either Beebs or was it Ahmed's, one of the two. I even said to myself that there's just no way they're going to make that fight. No way at all, based off those results. And Joshua is skirting over the question about the fact, are you going to fight Deontay Wilder next? When Adelupo interviewed him after the Helenius knockout, he literally ducked the question. And Eddie Hearn, he's even been going out right after that fight. Immediately after that fight, they asked him straightforward, is the Deontay Wilder fight next? Then they come around and said that, well, you know what? We're still looking at it. We still got to iron out a couple things, and then we'll get back to you. Basically, that's the gist of what they said. So, look, if you have no intention of making a fight with a certain fighter, then just don't lie about it. That's all I got to say. Just be honest about it with the fans. Don't string fans along. Now, the problem with this situation is, did Eddie Hearn lie? I think he did lie about it because, again, him and Joshua used Wilder's name to promote their last two fights. They needed to garner fans' interest, given the fact that Anthony Joshua's stock has gone down after the Usyk fights. He's gone mentally crazy after the Usyk fight for the most part. So they need to get fans to go back to watch his fights in the UK. And I get that. Fighters use fighters' names all the time to sell events. We know that. It's nothing new. But the only thing I would say is what fans are getting fed up about is being stringed along. Don't give fans false promises, because if you do that, that's going to really ruin your reputation. We saw what happened to Tyson Fury when he did that with Oleksandr Usyk. When he kept using his name to sell a pointless fight in the Derek Chisora fight, and he had no intentions of making that fight, it caught up with his ass. And fans ridiculed Fury, and they hammered him, not only all over social media, and Fury went hiding because he couldn't deal with the comments. And by the way, he still blocked off some of the comments on most of his posts because he doesn't want to hear the fact that he avoided the Usyk fight. Yeah, like a coward. That's all it is. And I'm gonna keep calling him a gypsy coward. He's a coward until he fights Usyk, and I'm gonna keep calling him that until he takes the fight. End of discussion. End of, as they say. But anyhow, the thing with Anthony Joshua is that, and Eddie Hearn, is that the problem with that is that Eddie Hearn keeps running his mouth. All he has to do is just shut up and let the negotiation, play itself out. Don't say anything. If they keep asking for an update, just say, we'll get back to you when the fight is done. When it's done, it's sealed and delivered. Then we'll make an announcement. Just don't keep stringing fans along. And that's the problem I have with this situation. I even said, even though I know they had no intention, and I knew they had no intention of making that fight, but just don't string fans along about it. Wilder and his team, they wanted to make that fight desperately. I know this because they were stalling that Andy Ruiz fight. They were putting it off until they could get Joshua to sign the end of his deal. But of course, now that's not happening. What does Wilder do? He's got to have to go back and look into the Andy Ruiz fight. Pretty much give Andy Ruiz what he wants. Give him the $10 million and get it over with. Because at this point, if you don't fight Andy Ruiz, Deontay, then your career is going to go into obscurity. And that's the last thing you need right now, especially you're becoming an aging fighter. So, yeah. So, yeah, like I said, man, this just looks bad. And Hearn did lie about it. Let's be honest, guys. There's just no way around it. I know what's going to be brought up is that the whole Saudi skills challenge situation that has been reported that their funding's been pulled by the Saudi government due to some frictions. So I get all that. But at the end of the day, why does that the Saudi Arabia have to be the end of be all when it comes to big heavyweight fights? Why can't Eddie Hearn and why can't Anthony Joshua make the fight elsewhere? They have the opportunity to do it. Then again, some people are going to turn around and say, why don't Team Wilder put in an offer? Wait a minute, hold up. I thought Anthony Joshua was the A side. Why can't he do it? I mean, yeah, I get that argument. At the end of the day, they're the ones who said the fight was on. That's what Eddie Hearn said. He said it himself. It was locked in, ready to go. But as soon as after that Helenius fight, what did he do? He backpedaled and said that, you know what? We're going to have to look at a couple things and then we'll make a decision. See? And to be fair, maybe Eddie Hearn was telling the truth. Maybe they did have the fight locked in, but based off that result, let me go back. Maybe they did have the fight locked in, but on the contingent of how well Anthony Joshua performed against Robert Helenius. If he performed poorly, then the fight's off. If he performed very well, then the fight's on. Now that he performed poorly, the fight's off. So maybe he was telling the truth there, but then again, I'm going to incline to believe that he was stringing everyone along. Him and Joshua, they were both doing it just to get fans to watch the events. That's all they did. So now, does it damage Joshua's reputation at the moment? Not as bad as Tyson Fury's, the way I see it, but there's one thing that's going to come back to haunt Eddie Hearn and Anthony Joshua is that there is a comment that was made about the Tyson Fury fight. The reason why they didn't take the fight when they was offered the fight is because they were locked in with the Deontay Wilder fight. That's what they said. And now they don't have the Deontay Wilder fight. How do you come back from that? You walked out of the Tyson Fury fight, and rightfully so, walk away from that. But yet you did it on the premise of the fact that you were going to fight Deontay Wilder. Now that the fight's not happening, where are you going to go? How are you going to sell Joshua's next fight? That's going to be a really, really big problem for Team Joshua. How are they going to fight? How are they going to sell their next event? Because at this point, who are they going to fight? Phil Herkovich? Maybe. I think that'd be a good fight. But at this moment, does Joshua stand? Is he stand a chance against Phil Herkovich at the moment? Maybe. I mean, Herkovich hasn't really looked that great in his last two fights. But then again, you're good as your last fight. It depends if you're up for it. Maybe Herkovich is going to be a lot better against Joshua because he's more of a better opponent than the other two that he fought. It's Zhang and McKean. And to be fair, Zhang's actually a top-level fighter. So Herkovich probably wasn't trained. I mean, he did have some psychological issues at the time. Yeah, so, yeah. Hey, shout out to Hamed in the chat. He says, yeah, salute, Dan. Will Joshua ever fight Fury Wilder? I mean, I don't know, man. It doesn't look that way, but never say never. This is a heavyweight division. Anything can happen. So, yeah, hopefully, but it doesn't look that way at the moment. I got a feeling that Fury won't fight Usyk until he's fought Joshua. Yeah, I mean, Fury won't fight Usyk until he gets old, until a point that he feels that he could beat him. That's the only way he's going to do it. That's it. So we all know that's what they're doing. This Derek James troll. Me and Bo Mac at a Cheatweight division. Who y'all got? I mean, look, man. Well, Bo Mac's got some issues right now. He's got to handle that before he thinks about fighting or training anymore. So let's just hope, he can resolve that. But then again, I mean, he should have known better. You don't bring a gun to a foreign country. You don't do that, bro. I mean, that is a big no-no. I don't know. I mean, I know there's a quote somewhere saying that, look, the last time I went over there, they tried to rob me, and I'm not going to stand for that. But yeah, I get that. But there's laws, bro. There's different rules. Those laws that you're so accustomed to in the United States does not have any jurisdiction over the laws in the UK. You have to respect that, Bomac. You have to, bruh. So yeah, Dan disagreed. They ducked Fury to cherry pick White before it backfired. Well, yeah, they did, but at the same time, they also said that they were locked in with the Deontay Wilder fight. So that was part of the reason why they turned down the Fury fight. They said. So now they lost the Dillian White fight, and they looked horrible. And Joshua looked horrible against Elanius. Now they don't have a Wilder fight. How do they sell the next fight? Because at this point, fans are not going to accept any opponent lesser than Deontay Wilder at the moment. They won't do it. I just don't see it. So for them to make up the loss for the Wilder fight, they're going to have to take on a Herkovich. They're going to have to take on a Joe Joyce. They're going to have to take on a Julie Zhang. In my opinion, all three of those fighters at this moment beat Anthony Joshua. In my opinion. So, yeah, this just looks bad, man, for Team Joshua. It looks very bad. And again, the only challenge they're going to have to face is that they have to get an opponent that's at least on the caliber of Deontay Wilder. But better yet, it has to be a step up from Robert Elanius. It's got to be. Because if they take on another opponent that's on the same level or lower than Elanius, then that is going to be a huge problem. And fans are not going to buy it. And in fact, and nobody's talked about this a lot, in that I know this fight happened weeks ago, about a month ago, but I can tell you one thing: fans were not happy about that Anthony Joshua performance. Even he got the knockout, they were not happy about it. They booed him during the course of that fight. They booed him. And that, by the way, that arena was not sold out. It was very quiet and it was sold out. It didn't sell out. So that goes to show you that how dramatically and how Anthony Joshua's star power and value had declined after the Usyk fights. So yeah. You think Zhang's overrated? Okay. Well, I mean, he is a top level fighter. But at the same time, Zhang beat Herkovich. He just didn't get the decision. We all saw that fight. Sir Herkovich lost that fight, but Zhang just didn't get the decision. Hamed says, Dan, do you think Hearn wants to now make Fury fight apparently next year? You know what? Maybe they see Fury as a better chance. They may see him as a better, not saying more vulnerable, but maybe they see Joshua having a better chance of beating Fury than he beats Wilder. I know the Fury fans going to say, how? That's insane. That's insane. Fury beat Wilder arguably 3 times and destroyed him in their last 2 fights. How is that even possible? Well, styles make fights. Number 1. Number 2, Anthony Joshua is a way better polished technical fighter than Deontay Wilder. That's number 2. Number 3, strength for strength. Joshua is much stronger than Deontay Wilder in the clinches. Much stronger. Now, the only thing Tyson Fury is going to have to worry about is that Joshua. The only thing he's going to have to rely on is Joshua slowing down, weakening, during the stretches of the fights, which he usually does, and the fact that as soon as he gets hit, he capitulates. So yeah, so definitely Fury's going to win that. I think Fury wins that fight, but at the same time, if Anthony Joshua can get up for it, if he can be motivated, then Tyson Fury's going to have a very long night. He's going to have a very long night. So, yeah, Zhang is 40 years old. Yeah, Joe Joyce is up there, too. Him and Wilder are both the same age. So you have to understand the heavyweight division, the lifespan is much, much, much longer than the lower weight divisions. 37, 35, 33, 35, 36, 37, 38, 39. Yes, it's not considered old, but at the same time, it's still relatively guys, still in their, they can still fight at a prime, at a top level at that age. Even at 40 years old, Zhang looks good, but this is a true fact. Zhang didn't turn pro till he was 31 years old. So he's been an amateur for a very, very, very long time. So, yeah. Fury and Joshua will be a horrible, ugly fight. Yeah, it'll be ugly, especially the animosity between the two. And yeah, it's going to be an ugly fight. But like I said, at this moment, the way things are in the current projections, I don't see it happening, at least for now. All right, Derek. Stop with the disrespect, bro. Stop with the disrespect. Don't disrespect James. Put respect on James' name. Yeah. All right, bro. Heavyweight division is trash right now. Yeah. Well, look, it is trash right now. I mean, the only thing we got going right now is that Oleksandr Usyk is actually defending his titles against his mandatories. He's the true heavyweight champion. He's fighting these top dangerous heavyweight contenders. He's doing that. Now you got Fury, he doesn't want to do it. He's openly admitted that he doesn't want to do that. And you got Joshua, who, team that pulled they got cold shoulders, cold feet, I should say, that pulled out of the Wilder fight. So now it's like, what opponent are they gonna sell next? How are they gonna sell their next fight if they can't, now that the Wilder fight is off? So yeah, it's just a mess right now. I really didn't expect to see this. I expect a clown show like this to happen in the lower weight divisions. But in the heavyweight division, you got too many prima donnas who don't want to fight each other, who don't want to, who want to price themselves out. It's like, this is becoming madness, dude. Like, Andy Ruiz is asking for a minimum of $10 million to fight Deontay Wilder, even though I think that's ludicrous. But at this point, where's Wilder going to go? He can't even get the Joshua fight now. So he wants another big payday. So you might as well just go back to that Andy Ruiz fight and give him what he wants. So, yeah. Tyson Fury, on the other hand, he wants to take on these shy show fights because he's afraid of losing to a top contender right now. And I don't want to hear about, Tyson Fury's not afraid of any man. Yes, he is. If he's not afraid of any man, he would have fought Oleksandr Usyk by now. Win, lose, or draw. But he doesn't want to do it. He's openly admit that. And the reason why he doesn't want to do it is because he doesn't want to lose his value as a top guy. What I mean by that is that he sees these lucrative contracts come in from other various organizations, from Netflix, from the WWE, this, that, and the third. He doesn't want to lose that value. He's afraid if he loses to one of these top contenders, all that's going to go away. He's afraid of that. So, yes, he's afraid of losing to a man. He's afraid of Oleksandr Usyk. He will only fight him when he knows he's in a perfect position of beating him. And I said this once and I'll say it before. I think the longer Fury waits for that fight, the longer it's going to be more detrimental to him. Because look at him. He's always not in great fighting shape. His knees are weak. His elbows are becoming a problem. So he's going to be far more damaged going into that fight than Oleksandr Usyk if they eventually fight. I'm just being honest. That's the way I see it. And the way I see it is that if they do eventually fight, I think that fight's going to end up almost the same way as Terence Crawford versus the Errol Spence fight. And the reason why I say that is because Errol Spence and his team did the same thing. For 5 years, they waited out the Crawford fight, hoping Crawford would slow down, hoping that he would age. And then it backfired on their asses. I know Percy's been waiting for me to comment on that. But yeah, exactly what happened. They waited too long hoping that Crawford would slow down, and then it backfired on him. Now Spence probably won't even get a license anywhere because of the way he's been beaten up. And then I'm hearing that hasn't fully recovered from the car accident. And by the way, now these Spence fanboys want to go out there talking about, well, he was not the same guy. The car accident was an issue. I'm like, well, wait, you weren't saying that when he fought Danny Garcia. You guys weren't saying that when he fought Ordenas Ugas. I'm very consistent on my channel. I even said myself that after that car accident, I'm not really convinced that Errol Spence is going to be the same fighter. I am not convinced. And some people will say, and they were being respectful. Some will say, nah, man, Dan, you crazy. What are you talking about, man? Spence, look how he did against Danny Garcia. He's the same guy. And he was after the accident. Okay. You say that then, but now you're saying that he wasn't the same because of the accident. So, I mean, come on, man. I mean, you guys can't have it both ways. And no disrespect, man, but you guys are really, really moving the goalposts. You didn't expect that beatdown to happen, and now you guys have crawled away. And some of the guys that I've seen have shut their channels down because of the fact. Either they shut down their channels because of the Spence loss, or they took their channels to a different direction. That's exactly what happened. Wilder loss was the first icing on the cake. I mean, was the first icing on the cake, guys, I should say. The cherry on top was when Spence took that L. And I even said years ago that if Spence take that L, boy, I don't expect some of these guys to come back. And that's exactly what happened onto YouTube, that is. They went hiding. So now that Spence has reactivated, triggered his rematch clause, I just don't think they should fall through with that. I really don't. Maybe they looked at it, they assessed the situation and say, you know what? You have another big payday on the table. You're not going to get it anywhere else. Well, let's just risk it and get it over with. You may not be Crawford, but at least you got another big payday and just call it a career. Because at this point, Earl Spence looks. I mean, it just to me, he seemed like to me he's kind of checked out a little bit. Because look at him, he's made a lot of money. He doesn't live the fighter's lifestyle because after fights he blows up in weight. He doesn't keep himself in shape. He's always drinking, partying a lot. So it's like at this point, I guess I can see why they would take the Crawford rematch, but it's still going to be the same result. Can he improve? Absolutely, he can improve. He will. I think he will improve, but it's still going to be the same result. And Crawford's still going to be better. So it's like, it's no way around it. So, yeah. So that's my take on on the Eddie Hearn and situation with Joshua Wilder and Spencer Crawford. Let me just go on to something else and call this up. Yeah, Percy says, I think Spence will finds a way out of that rematch. Showtime and Heyman don't want that rematch. Yeah, I just don't. Yeah, then it's kind of like I have a feeling it's going to be like the J Rock and the Jared Hurd situation because I remember when Jared Hurd had triggered his rematch clause against J Rock Williams, he found a way out of it because he came up with the excuse about I think it was something to do with the drug testing or he came up with the excuse the fact that the weight's been detrimental. It's just like he came up with the excuse not to follow through with it. So I kind of see this kind of almost heading that same direction with the Spence Crawford thing. I think it'd be best for Spence not to take that rematch, man. I really don't think he should. But if he wants to do it, all power to him because he is entitled to it. It's his right to invoke it. His right to follow through with it. But at the end of the day, it's got to be the same result. So, yeah, especially if they say they want to get this fight rematch targeted for December? Yeah, that's still not enough time for Earl Spence to prepare. Not enough time. So, yeah. So he activated that rematch clause after the deadline. Really? How's that work? All right, let's T. Crawford says, okay, cool. We'll give it to you. That means if that's the case, it's like, whatever, we're still going to beat you anyway, get another big payday. So, yeah. Crawford was on Snack when he fought Spence. Yeah, here come with the excuses. Here come with the excuses. Come on, Derek James. Come on, bruh. Look, bruh, do you realize that Terrence Crawford has a wrestling background? He was a high school wrestler. Do you know that? Wrestlers, regardless of size, knows how to take down their opponents, no matter how much they weigh. It's happened in history, bruh. Let me tell you something. Kurt Angle, and I'm going to use him as an example. Kurt Angle is not the biggest guy in the world, okay? Yes, he's not a small guy in sorts because he's like, what, 6'2", 220 in his prime, 210 maybe. But Kurt Angle was a prolific wrestler, Roman Greco wrestler. He took down guys that had like a weight advantage over him, like over 40, 50 pounds in some shoot wrestling matches. He took them down with ease. So if Kurt Angle could take down guys that weighs nearly 300 pounds and he's only like 210 or 220, then Terrence Crawford being at 160, taking down guys like 200 or 240 pounds, that's no problem for him. Because again, wrestlers know how to take big guys down. They know their weak points. They know their vulnerabilities when it comes to body parts when to take them down. So, yeah, it's not a surprise that a guy that weighs 160, 180 pounds taking down a guy that may weigh about 400 pounds, whatever, 300. That can happen, bro. That can happen. Yeah, so technically Crawford doesn't have to accept it. No, he doesn't have to, but he just accepted it anyway. So he's like, look, I know I can beat you. I know what you can do. I studied you for so many years. So it's going to be the same result. I mean, what else? What can Earl Spence improve? I mean, seriously, he can't do nothing else. What can he improve? You can't knock the guy out. You can't hurt him. So what can he do? Terrence Crawford is not the type of guy that capitulates. That doesn't get compromised when he's out of the ring. He's always in shape. He's always in the gym. He's always training. So this is not that type of situation with Deontay Wilder and Tyson Fury. Well, Wilder had a little bit of a chance in the third fight because Tyson Fury is not that type of guy who keeps himself in shape. He's always doing some other nefarious stuff like sniffing coke, not training, blown up in weight, being out of shape. So it's like, yeah, there's a difference there. So, yeah, moving along. Yeah, I already covered this already. Tyson Fury admitted to ducking Oleksandr Usyk. Yeah, he did. He admitted it in that interview with Sky Sports at that first presser with the Ngannou event. He did. So all you Fury fanboys talking about, oh, he ain't avoiding the fight. He's not avoiding the fight. Yeah, he just admitted that he did. He admitted it. Ah, boy. I don't know what else I have to say to these Fury fanboys. I mean, there's just no way of convincing, there's no way of reasoning with them, seriously, when it comes to this. It's just no way at all. All right, last but not least, Frank Martin and the Shakur Stevenson title fight is off. All right, so let me go ahead and bring up the quote here from Mike Coppinger. And let's see if we can dig a little further to why that fight has been canceled. Let's see why. All right, so according to his article by ESPN, top-ranked representative said the fight has fell apart because, let me see what's the reason behind it. And it's funny too because all sides agreed to terms earlier this week about the fight, and now it's been canceled. So the top-ranked officials have said that they, alongside with the PBC side, notified the WBC on Tuesday that a deal has been reached for the vacant WBC lightweight title fight, which canceled the purse bid scheduled for that afternoon. Top Rank has also said. Top Rank said that it sent the contract over to PBC the following day, but was later informed, why these pop-ups keep coming up, was later informed that Martin was no longer proceeding with the fight. I'll repeat that. Top Rank said it sent the contract over to PBC the following day, but later was informed that Martin was no longer proceeding with the fight. Martin was set to earn a career-high seven-figure payday, per sources. So, the next available contender in line for the title is Edwin De Los Santos. So, it looks like the WBC is going to order that fight, and that's actually a very good fight. So, with that said, Frank Martin is the one that avoided the fight. Wow. I mean, Shakur Stevenson can't really get a break here. First with the Devin Haney situation, when Devin Haney sent that lowball offer, knowing he wasn't going to accept it, just to make it look like that Haney wanted that fight, which is bullshit. He never wanted that fight, or his father, at least for that matter. They never wanted it. And then you have the Pitbull Cruel situation when Pitbull and his team turned down the fight. And now you have Frank Martin and his team who initially agreed to the fight, and then the next thing you know, the next day they pull out. So I have to retire this. Frank Martin is the one that avoided the fight. He avoided it. And by the way, the same Frank Martin, and I like Frank Martin, who barely got that decision over what was the fighter that he beat? I forgot. Let me look it up. Frank Martin. Yeah, who did he beat? Who was that fighter? What was his name? Oh yeah, Artur Hataturian. Yeah, a fight that many people felt that he had lost. Or it was the Michael? No, it wasn't the Rivera fight. It was the Hataturian fight. A fight that some people felt that he lost. And I kind of questioned myself. I mean, it was a big risk for them to go in there against Shakur Stevenson, but I was going to come on here and give my congratulatory, my congratulations to Frank Martin and his team for taking the fight, as opposed to Devin Haney. But then he pulls out the very next day. Yeah, I get it because, look, he's still young in his career. He's got plenty of fights, so let's not rush him into the title shot. Maybe that's why they had a change of heart. But at the same time, what looks bad is that don't accept the fight and then pull out the next day. It just looks kind of bad. But I can see why they did it. But if that was the case, then don't take the fight. Just simply say, we're not ready for it right now. That's all you have to say. So, yeah. Doesn't really look good on Frank Martin's team. And by the way, Frank Martin is a Derrick James fighter. So, yeah, maybe Derrick James' team looked at that and said, yeah, we're not ready for this fight. and rightfully so. They weren't ready for it. So, yeah. So, all right, y'all. I think I covered everything. I'm gonna go ahead and close this down. I want to give a shout out to everybody in the chat. I got Percy, Hamed, Fight Doctor, Richard Sampson, and all the others in the chat. Who else was there? Came in. This bitch. So hey, thank you guys for tuning in. So until next time, other than that, we out. Peace.